Hi there. Welcome back to Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me, the podcast from the Montclair Art Museum. I'm your host, Alex Pavljuk. This week we're chatting with a friend of the podcast. She's been on the show before, Audrey, the curatorial assistant here at the Montclair Art Museum. And essentially we're just kind of diving into what exactly a collection show is. Here at MAM, we've often put on some collection shows. There's ones like Family, Community, and Belonging, works from the collection, evidently. Which has been on view for a little while and it will maintain on view for some time. There's also A to Z, 25 years of collecting at MAM. So, from the years 2000 to 2025, we've collected an immense amount of artwork that, we're really proud of and I think showcases a lot of the efforts that our curatorial staff have had towards, really opening up and broadening our horizons and, redefining the scope and scale of what it is that we collect here at the museum. It's a really remarkable show that I'm so excited to, get to see as we assume the rest of the community who supports us is. It's really spectacular. There's some incredible works from Roy Lichtenstein to Sarah Z, who's, the namesake of the show. She's an incredible contemporary artist who deals with, location specific works. So we're really excited to see that get underway. But I'm not going to hold us back anymore from the interview with Audrey. She's really fantastic and a real joy to chat with. So without any further ado, we're here to, ask the question, what is a collection show? All right, I think that's fine. All right, you ready, Audrey?
Ready.
All right. Hi, Audrey.
Hi, Alex.
Welcome back to Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I know. This is episode 2 for you. How does it feel having one in the chamber? Do you feel more confident going into this one?
Less nervous. For sure.
We aim to keep this as seamless and easy as possible because I need guests all the time. And if it's hard, no one's going to come on the show.
So I'll be back.
Yes, exactly. Just catch the audience up. What have you been up to? What's been going on?
So we have a lot going on right now. Today, we've actually started the installation process for Nanette Carter's new exhibition.
Ooh.
She's actually here at the museum with our guest curator, Mary
Wait, she's here today?
Yeah, she's here today.
She didn't answer my email.
Oh my God.
I told her to email me.
Now you got to go find her.
I told her to email me when she was here so we could record a podcast episode.
Unfortunately, I think it's her lunch break right now, so you might be missing your window. But
Oh my God. All right. Well,
but they are doing their installation process, which is super cool to witness.
Yeah, it was really great getting to know Nana a little bit when we recorded our promotion videos, our little marketing material.
She's such a cool person.
She's so nice. And you studied her, right?
Yeah. I studied her in school, which was incredible to, actually put a face to the name and get a chance to meet her. And today it's been really cool because it's the first exhibition I've seen here where it's a retrospective. So there's only one artist. Mm-hmm. So she is very much heading the whole installation process.
That's really fascinating. I don't think the only time, if my memory serves me right, that there was a retrospective show. Maybe it wasn't a retrospective, but it was Lori Fields.
Okay.
That was when I first started at the museum in 2022. That was the last time that I think there was. No, that's not true. Vanessa German's
show was incredible.
Yeah, but those were the only two. Like I don't know if I would call them retrospectives, but like dedicated solo shows that were really incredible.
I am obsessed with Vanessa German. So that was actually one of the shows that I came to see where I was like, I think I need to get a job at the Montclair Art Museum.
Yeah, you were starting to manifest it a little bit.
Yeah.
That was a cool show. Vanessa German's really great. She was so kind.
Nanette too. She just has like this incredible life. She is such a cool person to be working with, and she's just a cool person to talk to. So.
Yeah, she's also local, which is local in the sense that she grew up in Montclair.
Yeah,
her
dad was the mayor of Montclair.
Yeah,
she has an incredible lore.
Yeah, she does. There's a very large cinematic universe around Nanette Carter's life. It's very fun.
She's been working with the museum since like the 80s.
Yeah, she's great. She's really great. It was really a joy getting to work with her and see her previous show at the Barry Campbell Gallery where we filmed our video, to hopefully get people to come see the show coming up next month. Alongside the Nanette Carter show, we actually have, this is kind of the reason for this episode, we have another show which is coming to the museum. It's a permanent collection show. It's called A to Z. it's a quarter century of collecting at MAM. And, essentially I wanted to get into kind of the process behind and the kind of the thought of why it's important to have, collection shows at museums. And, here at MAM, right now we have some loaned works on view with a shared love. We have obviously, our Family and Community and Belonging, which is our permanent collection show. There's Interwoven Power, which is a blend of both. But A to Z, this is a show dedicated to the past 25 years, so 2000 to 2025, and we've, dedicated the time and effort and energy into supporting and showcasing and, taking care of. And I just, obviously you work in that world, you're over there, you're doing it right now. And I just wanted to talk to you about why it's important to have these kinds of shows, these collection shows.
Yeah. So we actually had another collections show 25 years ago. It's really cool because this time our chief curator, Gail Stavitsky, has been here for around 30 years. Mm-hmm. So this exhibition is kind of a collection of all of the works that she has, her and a panel of other people, but that she has collected on behalf of the museum over the past 25 years. And it's a nice sampling of all of the different movements that have kind of occurred within, some of the works are not necessarily movements that occurred within the last 25 years. Some of the works are, we have a Liechtenstein, for example, which
pop art,
yeah,
it's very fun. There's landscape work.
There's landscapes,
both traditional and abstract. You have the likes of Edward Bannister or, in a more, I would guess, abstract is the word, but Richard Mayhew, who's heavily inspired by, George Inness, who does these very unique, I guess you would call them landscapes, which are really just kind of feels like the colors are kind of blending together.
A little bit expressionist.
Yeah, expressionist, yeah.
And I think that's what's so cool about a collections show is that these works are picked to complement our collection. So there are a lot of works by contemporary Native artists. There are a lot of works by artists that took inspiration from George Inness. And it's kind of cool to see the thought process behind all of those selections throughout the years.
Yeah, no, it's really spectacular. And, getting to see the exhibition checklist and kind of imagine what these are going to look like in person is really exciting. One that is really, I think we're all really eager to see, just because it's, I don't think the page does it justice, but the namesake of the show, Sarah Z, who's remarkable. Before I worked in museums, I didn't know much about contemporary artists, frankly. Obviously, about Banksy and whatnot as just on the periphery of knowledge.
Yeah.
But, Sarah Z was somebody that I actually was familiar with prior to really, diving into this world.
Yeah.
And so I'm very excited to see her work.
Yeah. And I think the Sarah Z is really cool too, because a lot of the works in this show center around ideas of identity. Mm-hmm. So this work in particular is kind of supposed to be an exploration of Sarah Z's identity as an artist. So it's reminiscent of a studio. She has a Rolodex. She has kind of more traditional artist studio objects on display, and it's huge. It's a massive
Is it huge?
piece.
I feel like I can't really tell in the photos.
You can't tell from the photos. It's going to take up, it's three-dimensional, obviously, so it's going to take up a decent chunk of the space, and I think it's something that people definitely should come see in person, because it's hard to get an idea of the scale of this thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're there.
Exactly. I think I could kind of talk circles around, some of these works, and Sarah Z one is really interesting, but I think that a lot of the works hold some weight, a lot of weight. And I think that's something that Gail's done really a spectacular job of doing. I told that to her on the podcast on our last episode together, but I think, her ability to seek out, voices that may not have the channel or the projection to be lifted is really amazing. And she's done that over, the course of her career. And I think there's a plethora of work that speak to that notion. But I do want to pivot slightly and kind of just ask you, what What are your favorite works on view in this? Because you've seen them now. You've been starting to get into them. Tell me, like, put the papers down. What is your, like, what do you like? You're getting, I can see you're getting excited.
I'm putting down my notes. There's this Dave Chihuly glass sculptural. It's a vase. It is the most incredible. It's based on the idea of like Navajo weaving and Navajo blankets.
This is the Virgil Ortiz, correct?
No. So I will also talk about the Virgil Ortiz. But the Dave Chihuly, it's actually another glass work.
Okay.
And just the detail in it, the amount of technique, the amount of understanding of the medium that it requires to have these intricate patterns that are so reminiscent of like the weaving that you see on display in Interwoven Power. It's incredible because glass is such a hard medium to work with.
Yeah.
And just the sheer artistic skill that it takes to create something like that. And the pictures, once again, don't do it justice. Yeah. You really have to look at it, you know.
It's interesting to me that like the ability in this show to blend different mediums together and tell a cohesive story. Because that's what a lot of the time these exhibitions are. It's storytelling. And, you know, I think as you move around a space, you get different stories. I think that was what was so powerful. I think this is the case in Interwoven Power, but I think it was also especially the case in Century, 100 Years of Black Art at MAM, where it was put into different subsections. And depending on how you enter the space or maneuver the space, you potentially, especially if you're reading the wall labels and understanding what section you're in, told a different story.
Yeah.
And I imagine in a lot of ways this, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my interpretation, A to Z is, you know, the story of our last 25 years of collecting and pun not intended, but like weaving those different eras and styles and mediums and personalities that, you know, as a museum we've tried to lift up and really celebrate, and to do it all in one show where I'm sure you've had like the team had to like sort through, you know, dozens if not hundreds of works that could have also fit into this show. I think that's also where the supplementary, like kind of complementary show that's also going to be going on view, Platinum to Postcards, which is all 25 years of collecting but photography, comes into play. But I digress. Just talk to me about like the process of like trying to balance these glass works and these, you know, huge sculptures like Sarah Z's, or these more traditional works like I noted before, like the Edward Bannister, or, you know, the Roy Lichtenstein, which is, you know, obviously like, you know, the pop art. It's a lot of different fonts in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways a collection show in the United States that's at a museum whose, you know, theme is American art. Because of that, you get a slew of different kinds of identities. Like each one of these works is representative of the artist's entire worldview, or at least a point in their worldview at a certain point in their life. It represents a person's entire life. So I think when it comes to the collections shows, we try to do a good job of explaining the visual language of each artist so that people really, as much as they can walk in and see it as, oh, you know, the themes are identity and community and things like that, you can also take the time with each individual object and kind of try to learn. It's really a language. It is like when they say visual language, you can learn the elements of each artist's style, and maybe one of them really calls to you and you go forward and you look into that artist a little bit more, you know, like there has to kind of be a balance in these kinds of shows between a universal theme and kind of giving each object breathing room, is what they always say, and spotlighting the important and diverse elements of each artist's perspective. So
what that was really beautifully said. What work or artist do you think an audience who might be coming to see the show and, the first couple weeks of it being on view, or the opening night, whenever. If you had to point them to one work that kind of spoke to I guess kind of the motivations of the show and really encapsulates anything, if they were going to spend 10 minutes really intimately examining and enjoying a work, which of those would it be?
Okay, well, that's like asking a little kid to tell you their favorite kind of candy, Alex.
What do I know? I don't know anything. I'm in the marketing of this. I don't know. I don't do your job.
I think, well, obviously it would depend on the person.
Yeah.
But I think one of the works that really encapsulates this idea of storytelling in the exhibition is the work that you mentioned before by Virgil Ortiz, Tahu Blind Archer. This work is really cool to me, and I think it would appeal to a lot of different kinds of people because it's, once again, it's a vase, it's glass. Don't even get me started on the craftsmanship, but the theme is really cool as well because it's this story that the artist actually created himself based on a Pueblo uprising that he sets in the future. And he created all of these characters, and this one specific work is based on this character Tahu, who is the counterpart to the leader of the uprising, and she is punished and blinded along with a lot of the other women in the Pueblo. And it's kind of a testament to the strength that he has seen in the women of his communities and how they continue to kind of carry on teaching, and they have been a pillar for so many.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a cool work to get in, whether you're into comic books or like storytelling, or if
world
you can
building,
just world building. It's world building.
Yeah.
It all is.
Well, thank you, Audrey. This has been really, really great. And I don't want to go just yet, but I think even though obviously we're talking about A to Z, I think it's important to, which we alluded to earlier, talk about the complimentary show, the Platinum to Postcards. There's some cool stuff in that show as well. Specifically what comes to mind is the Andy Warhol Polaroids.
That came to my mind as well.
Which is really exciting. But can you just talk to me, like, what goes into, from like a technical standpoint? It feels silly to say like which comes first, like the chicken or the egg, because obviously I'm sure A to Z came first, but the decision to, separate photography from the, because there's already such a versatile modality of mediums that are in A to Z. Was it just to give the photographs breathing room? Was it because they didn't necessarily, it almost felt like you were mixing too many things? Like, what's the secret to the sauce?
Well, I think there are a few reasons. Number one, we have that great new little niche specifically for these kind of smaller exhibitions where we want to highlight maybe one element of whatever other show that we're putting on. Mm-hmm. Number two, just logistically, Ira Wagner loves photography.
Yes, he does.
So
our director is he has been facilitating a lot of our photography
and
shows.
He's been involved in the curation process as well. It's been really cool to kind of see him work with the registrar and pick his favorites of all of the photos that we have in our collection. But yeah, I think photography is such a different medium that we did just kind of want to give it a little bit of breathing room. And there are some really, really cool things on display, like, as you mentioned, Andy Warhol's personal photographs that we received from the Andy Warhol Foundation that are just, they're photos that he took like on a night out with his friends, you know? So it's this casual, intimate side of Andy Warhol that we rarely ever see. And we actually have another work. It's a portrait of Andy Warhol that kind of talks about this dichotomy in the artist, especially a pop artist, between his public persona and his private life. That was really, there were a lot of differences between Andy Warhol's private life and his public persona. So it's kind of an interesting little window into that side of him. You know?
what other things can people look forward to in the next coming months here at MAM? Obviously A to Z, obviously Platinum to Postcards, obviously Nanette Carter. Is there anything else that people should know about, or is that do we kind of hit the nail on the coffin with that?
Yeah,
you're nodding yes.
Generally speaking, that's what we're going to have on display for a while. We are planning to have a Holly Wilson installation come into the Interwoven Power exhibition, which is going to be super cool. I'm very excited for that. Not sure of the exact timeline, but we're all very excited about it.
Yeah, and then later this year, there's Tom Nussbaum's coming, right? He just posted his announcement post, which was very exciting to see.
Oh my gosh, he's so prolific. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Just the sheer number of works. We're having such a hard time whittling it down,
Yeah. So there's a lot to look forward to, and obviously there's the community gallery, which is always rotating. Coming up soon, I believe in April, is again with the aid and guidance of Ira. There's the Tyler Chan show, which is the Montclair Snap Memories. He was actually on the pod last week, so it was really great to hear from him. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting stuff, and I guess
Jasleen as well is gonna be in that gallery.
Yeah. It's cool. That's a really special gallery, and I think one that for a long time has been underutilized, and so it's I'm glad it's getting a lot more love.
Yeah.
In I guess parting on what my final question to you, Audrey, if we kind of talked about this in our last episode, but I think it's important to touch on. I think kind of like many industries, specifically like publishing, like book publishing comes to mind. Curatorial is very mystifying. It's very, fogged, and it's kind of this amorphous thing that everyone has like a different thought of what it is or doesn't really even know anything about it. For somebody who loves the arts and is interested in being a part of the process of displaying it and getting it on the walls and making it available for people, I guess, like, what would you tell somebody like little you who might have been interested in this and went to school for this and might be looking for a job out there? What is it really like to do this work?
You're like always learning. And that's, I think, my favorite thing about the field. You're always collaborating with new people, new perspectives. You're always doing research. You're always kind of trying to take an approach to curating that is, how can I investigate this topic, this theme, this niche, this art style, rather than trying to impose your own, or like the idea of conveying a message, the idea of dictating a message, I think is a little bit more the artist's domain. And as a curator, you kind of get to help them, like I said before, kind of explain their own language.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I think
so. It's like, keep learning.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think what you kind of, to your point about investigating, I would reach to say, not yet having seen the show in its full beauty, but I would reach to say that 25 years of collecting, A to Z is certainly a testament to investigating and to, expanding horizons, and really is a landmark exhibition in that way. So yeah, it's exciting stuff. Thanks.
Ask a million questions, guys. It's very important.
Yeah. Questions are important. And with that, I have no more questions.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast.
Thank you for doing this again. I'm sure this is far from our last one.
Definitely.
I might pull you for some more. Melissa gets tired of me asking her art history questions, so you might have to when Melissa doesn't want to sit here and take my stupid, dumb caveman brain questions.
You're gonna have to let me bring my notes.
Yeah,
though.
you might have to be the stand-in.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. Thank you again, Audrey, for being a part of this episode. You can listen to this episode, obviously, as you're doing right now, wherever you stream podcasts. Share it with a friend. Rate and review it. We could really use the help. It would, immensely help get this show out to people that would find it interesting. You can follow the museum on Instagram. We're Mam Montclair. That's MAM Montclair on Instagram. We're on TikTok until that inevitably gets banned. Hopefully not, but we're there.
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, don't jinx it. We are there. You can also find us on YouTube. We have a lot of content that goes out on there, from art lessons to artist profiles to exhibition highlights. We really have been putting a lot of time and effort into YouTube, and to give us a subscription there and just check out some of our content on that side of things would be hugely appreciated. So that was Maybe Actually Museums Are For Me. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end of this episode, and we will talk to you next week, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Bye.